May 1950, a newly independent India. In the post-Second World War scenario, the industrial development of the nation needed a dedicated drive. Upon the remnants of a British detention camp at Hijli, Kharagpur, the first Indian Institute of Technology was born. The journey started with a combined strength of just 224 students and 42 faculty in 3 departments. 1956, IIT Kharagpur was declared as an institute of national importance with the motto Yoga Karma Saposhalam, meaning yoga is skill in works. The work had just begun. From the 1950s till today, IIT Kharagpur has seen the rise of its 19 departments in engineering and technology, natural sciences, humanities and social sciences, and architecture. Additionally, there are 17 centers and 12 schools of various disciplines.
Across these decades, we have charted several new firsts in education, not only developing the core engineering curriculum, but then slowly including sponsored research, including the science and technology entrepreneurship park, new areas of science and technology from biotechnology, computer science onwards. And then as we crossed 50 years, the IIT system decided to expand its ambit of science and technology driven movement to management, to law, to medical science and technology.
A key concept at IIT Kharagpur is flexibility in academics, allowing students to opt for minor, micro-specialization, or micro-credit courses, which they can also take up as electives for gaining competencies across disciplines. For example, one can take up mining engineering plus micro-specialization in photonics, or physics plus micro-specialization in financial engineering. Yet another provision allows 10% of the incoming class to change their department at the end of the first year based on their grades.
We have almost 4,000 undergraduate students, and we offer 15 programs, undergraduate programs like BTech Honors. In addition, we also have 38 dual degree programs, which is basically a 5-year program where a student can get, say, BTech in computer science and engineering, and also MTech in computer science and engineering in 5 years.
Today, IIT Kharagpur stands as a monumental institution with nearly 12,000 students, 700 world-class faculty members, many of whom are national and international award winners, and 900 staff members, as well as international experts. At IIT Kharagpur, learning is a way of life, essentially internalized as a 24/7 experience.
We are trying to explore if what are the different pedagogies that can effectively work. There has been experiments with flipped classroom. There have been different ways of handout-based teaching. We have tried to focus on the methods that have worked particularly well here in terms of increasing the engagement of the students.
I remember a gullible girl entering the premises of the IIT Kharagpur with aspirations in her eyes. After spending 4 years in the campus, I can see the impact this place has made on me. It's not only about the academics we study, it's about the people we meet, the journeys we translate, and the perceptions we develop. Now I can proudly say that I'm a young and confident woman to take over the world.
I think that girls are treated equally in terms of opportunities for academics, sports, social and culture, and technology. I hope in the near future more number of girls are going to enter IIT Kharagpur for science and technology.
Historically, there has been a gender imbalance in the field of education pertaining to the study of subjects like science, technology, engineering, and mathematics, not only in India, but in countries around the world. The IITs have recognized this and are now taking initiatives to maintain a healthy gender ratio in their campuses. The Council has therefore earmarked 20% supernumerary seats for women students in undergraduate admission by 2020.
IIT Kharagpur also ensures that no deserving student is denied education here on financial grounds. Despite the global standard of education, costs are highly subsidized, and the institute offers a range of grants and scholarships designed for the diverse needs of its student community. The institute has an array of international programs, student and faculty exchange, joint degree programs with foreign universities, joint courses offered with international experts, joint projects and workshops with institutions and laboratories around the world, visiting international faculty programs, scholarships for attending foreign internships, conferences, and competitions.
IIT Kharagpur strongly supports international exposure for our students. Our student members actively help us in designing and executing our various international programs.
So we take hello and welcome to this inaugural edition of IIT Global Conversations, and welcome you all. And we'll stop at this inaugural presentation we just played about the IIT Kharagpur. So 70 years, it would just in 30 days from now, we would be commemorating the 70 years of the foundation of the IIT system. On 18th of August 1951, IIT Kharagpur was formally inaugurated. It got launched and the IIT system unfurled over there. And so we just felt at Rethink India, why not to commemorate this 7 decades of journey, of this illustrious journey of the IIT system, which has risen to be one of the most predominant brands of India. Today, when we are talking about Atmanirbhar Bharat, so these are the premier institutions which give to us this strength and this confidence that India really can usher into the next leap of its development. So we have been greatly privileged to have the patronage of Krishnaswamy sir, who is a 1970 graduate from IIT Madras. Ram sir has been one of the very biggest votaries of the protection and the furtherance of the IIT system for that matter. So together with, we would be taking on in this 30 years of Jnana Yagya, this the commemoration of these 7 decades and counting of the IIT system with Ramda. And every day at 9:30 IST, Indian Standard Time, Ramda is located in Sydney. So we had the challenge of making this conversation actually global. And a lot of brainstorming went on what timeline we have to keep it over there. So we finally boiled down that 9:30 a.m. IST probably suits I would say Pacific daytime and also the AEST, the Australian Eastern time over there. By luck or whatever, Ramda, I welcome you to take over the entire conversation. And just to introduce, we have got yet another doyen of the entire IIT system. Professor P.B. Sharma is also with us by over there. So I would just request Ramda to give the inaugural remarks, and then we will probably take up the conversation with Professor P.B. Sharma and others over there. So Ramda.
I'm feeling a bit perplexed here. Like you pushing me off the ship into the ocean. I don't really know what's going on here.
Yes, yes.
So initially I assumed it was just you and me chatting.
Okay, okay, okay. Perfect, perfect.
Fill
So
me in. Fill me in.
yes, yes, yes. So the whole purpose behind this conversation has been, let me give you a brief background. 70 years back, as Prime Minister Nehru said in his that inaugural speech at IIT Kharagpur when he was laying that institution, that I would just read out from his inaugural speech over there, that here on, because IIT Kharagpur was established in the Hijli detention camp, and the entire idealism of creating a new India at that point, early point in time, the challenges before the country were quite different. We were just, we had got free from the yoke of the British Empire, and the country had to create an industrial base for itself. And in 7 odd decades, we have now got 20 plus IITs across the country. So we just felt to ruminate a bit back as to how the IIT system has contributed specifically to the goals, to the intended goals of the Republic of India per se. IITians we know are extremely successful individuals. They are donning some of the biggest global corporations. They are in fact running the government. Some of the finest officers in the government have happen to have the IIT pedigree. IITians have gone out to global academia, and they are really leading some of the finest research laboratories and research initiatives across. Be it industry, they are the titans, and in the new technological era, the biggest global behemoths are somehow, we all know that they are also led by IITians that way. So IITians individually have done a terrific progress, but over these 7 decades, I think that is where Ramda comes in, that what has to be the mission and mandate of the entire IIT system as a whole, and what its contribution has to be back to the Indian sovereign interest in whatever fashion. And this is where we want to contemplate back as to how to further these incredible institutes of transformation for future generations. So there are a lot many concerns, lot many areas which are emerging, because any brand, a brand was made by these early IITians who really slogged hard, worked hard, went out globally, and they fought hard, created those contours, those pathways, which we juniors have really easily exploited and made it big. Now it has become quite a trend, things are happening. But is it all okay? There are a lot many considerations and concerns which I think the veterans like Ram Krishnaswamy sir have in them, and we wanted to evoke these concerns and to have a contemplation and to find out some ways and means to check them at the policy level, at the practice level. So this is the brief background, Ramda, with this motivation, with this intent, and to further the IIT global mandate which you started off when the IIT system completed the 50 years. And that is where my association with Ramda starts, when IIT Kharagpur, the MHRD, the then MHRD minister, Murli Manohar Joshi sir was there in our campus. I was there at that time physically. So 50 साल से 70 साल, 50 to 70 years of the IIT system, a lot much has changed. And what will happen when India probably we reach our 2047, the 100 years of our independence? So with this larger background, I would request Ramda, because he had initiated a very fervent, very furious IIT global movement to link up all, and more of a grassroots development. Apart from the individual success, which IITs generally have it, what has been their contribution to the larger society and India as a whole? That has been the core. And what are the gaps? Is the IIT system just becoming a launchpad to greener pastures, or the IITians who are nurtured at a great cost to the Indian exchequer, is it really coming back to build our own institutions, build our own futuristic, I would say, organizations and Indian interests strategically in whatever futuristic areas we are working upon? So over to Ramda to take the conversation forward. Yeah.
What can I say? I think I belong to the first 10 years or 20 years And I didn't even know what an IIT was when I left school or pre-university. And when I got admission, my father said, no IIT, BIT, CIT, he thought it was a polytechnic. He said, you're going to Guinea in engineering college. So that means nobody knew about IIT those days. It was just coming up. We had no expectations. And only people with an aptitude for engineering attempted to get in. We didn't have big exams those days. The night before the exam, I went and saw Cleopatra movie. I didn't prepare at all. No coaching school, nothing. Whatever I learned at school was in my head, that was all. And IIT to me, when I got in there, was about national integration.
Mhm.
I was so happy to meet people from all over India in one campus, living in one wing, one hostel. That was so beautiful, right? And IIT today is a far cry from those objectives. It's a far cry. It's all been dissolved. IIT's prominence or whatever they have achieved is because of the alumni.
Mhm. Mhm.
Also, during my stay, IIT salaries were the highest for professors. So the best professors came to IIT. So in year 2006, I was talking to Professor Anand. He said, a fresh graduate can get out of IIT Madras and earn 4 lakhs a month. And my salary is 50,000 rupees. How can I get good faculty into IIT? You pay peanuts, you get monkeys, he said. So, that's the problem. So we need good faculty to produce good students. And now 5 IITs, they didn't have enough faculty. We got 20 IITs. What are we doing?
Mhm.
It's going down the gurgler. And globalization of the world took place. And IITs were being used by IT companies as fodder. They were selling, the building Infosys company had all the IITians. All they were doing is body shopping, doing work for Microsoft using IITians, okay?
Mm.
That globalization is dead now after COVID. Nobody can even leave the country. And how many graduates are coming out of IIT these days? Tell me. 20 IITs, how many graduates? Can you tell me?
Mhm.
Where are the jobs? And not only that, we didn't spend a cent to get into IIT. These days, parents are mortgaging their houses, taking bank loans, selling farmland, sending the kids to study. There's no jobs, no real scope, besides debt and suicide. Everything has to change. Unless somebody makes a big change, IITs are doomed.
Mhm.
And why is IIT better than NIT? NIT is also government sponsored, government funded. Why are we pushing NITs down and trying to push the IITs up? What's the point? And when I been to Madras and Bangalore, I hired a car, and we were talking. I had another IIT friend with me. We were chatting away, and the driver says, "Sir, can I tell you something else?" He said, "I'm a mechanical engineer. I can't get a job." So what is the purpose of this education? That is my fear.
Mhm.
Where are we going? We're producing engineers for the sake of engineering, but there are no industries to absorb them. But I've said, hello,
Yes.
you take over.
Okay. So I think Ramda has laid out quite he's quite concerned, and that's where some of the comments which we received. In fact, Professor R.K. Khandal, who happened to be the Vice Chancellor of almost Asia's biggest technical university, he just commented upon that IITs ने जितनी हानि पहुंचाई है engineering शिक्षा को किसी और ने नहीं. अब समय आ गया है यह IIT का खेला competition JEE सब समाप्त हो. This is quite one of the extreme criticisms which is coming across, because this is one of the views we just wanted to bring in. And we also have with us Professor P.B. Sharma, who has been quite an inspirational figure. He taught at IIT Delhi for 12 long years. And Professor Sharma has said, I will just read out and invite him to come in a part of this today's contemplation, that it would be important to understand how IITs have risen to such an eminence. What was the conceptual framework of IITs and strategy for their establishment and growth, and how it was revisited decades after decades, and the role they are to play now onwards, now that the word is being redesigned. So this is probably Professor Sharma in his characteristic style has summarized it all so beautifully, and I invite him to invoke and address this forum, this today's inaugural session. Professor Sharma.
First of all, let me say that how delighted I am to attend this very important launch. We are looking at the IIT through the eyes of those who graduated from here and made Mother India so well proud. And we are also looking at the IIT from the eyes of all those who taught at IIT, who worked in IIT, and certainly contributed to the growth of the IIT, to the eminence that it becomes the lighthouse of knowledge, not only for India, but for the rest of the world. Having said this, let me also say that one of the most important points which often policymakers miss, that when you establish a new institution, you must have a concept, you must have a vision, you must have something in mind which you want to do, which you could not do earlier. IITs were created, in my opinion, for a very distinct purpose. And the purpose was to create those temples of learning, of engineering and technology in India, which will not only assure employability, as Dr. Krishnamurti was saying, but also ensure that they make profound contribution to the body fabric of the nation in terms of whole lot of research and development and innovations for which IITs would be known. Initial genes which were attracted to IITs were drawn from the very best talent we could get from within India as well as from outside. And that is why people of high eminence who rose to the great positions of professorship in IIT were drawn from the very best universities of the world, including some of them from India, also from Delhi College of Engineering, where I had the privilege of being the director for almost 20 years. The initial genes which went to IITs, they contributed significantly to protect both the merit as well as what we call the integrity of education and research. Now that the new India is in the making, it would be very important for us to re-examine the role IITs are required to play in the nation building now that we are looking at development not only of the cities, but of the country as a whole. And therefore, I think one of the very important points would be how do I inspire, motivate, and certainly drive the agenda of driving the whole lot of effort of IIT towards nation building, so that the inspired, highly talented minds graduating from IITs look towards rural India with high-tech mind and with scientific solutions, so that we are in a position to contribute significantly to the rise of this new India where whole of India should enjoy the benefit of the IIT. This is what I thought I must put it at this point when the dialogue is just opened on looking at the IIT journey and looking at the future. But I thank you very much for giving me this opportunity to be with you and share some of my thoughts. Thank you so much indeed.
Thanks a lot, sir, for really blessing this humble initiative to bring about contemplations from various quarters. We would be joining in every day till 18th of August 2021 at 9:30 IST with one or the other eminent IITians to contemplate on the central theme. So here we had Professor P.V. Sharma, who shared his insights over there. And as we can see on the screen over there, that how the IIT system is expanded at Ramda has very unequivocally said that from the early five, the first five, the original ones, the first generation ones, the system has now expanded, almost touching 24 mark somewhere. So almost every Indian state has got an Indian Institute of Technology. They're also getting an Indian Institute of Management. Somehow the brand has expanded so very phenomenally that probably the initial decades which went into that grilling and drilling, because as they say that excellence cannot just be produced in masses. There are two schools of thought, ideological thoughts, whatever. So in these contemplations with the various IITians across the decades, across generations, I would say, we would be covering a host of issues which probably were initiated, because this is the primary key of the contemplation we will be having. Krishnaswamy sir's IIT Global Movement, which we started almost on 23rd of July, almost similar time in the year 2002. So a lot of themes he has worked around, he has singularly championed, he has been one of the key organizers. One has been the Pan-India movement, which took on by the corporate bigwigs. But there was yet another very, very powerful movement of closer to the ground, closer to the Indian national interest, the IIT Global Movement, which was founded by Krishnaswamy ji, and it had a huge following out there. So we just felt to pay tribute to this wonderful, it all started on Yahoo groups, because that was the early stages of communications. And now since 2002, and we are touching 2022. So these 20 years odd, technology has really taken leaps and bounds forward. So I would just bring in Krishnaswamy sir all over again to just give a glimpse of what all was IIT Global Movement all about, which he really, I would say, single-handedly and very passionately he drove for almost 2 decades. And what kind of an impact, what kind of subjects, because it's a huge, huge, huge area, and the IIT system can really have an impact, as we see that Government of India has really made a whole website on iitsystem.ac. That's how they're projecting it forward. So in the light of the IIT Global Movement for the last 20 years, I would like to bring in Krishnaswamy sir all over again to just tell us more about this whole IIT Global initiative which he carried. Ramda.
Am I there?
Yeah, you were there very much. Yeah.
I graduated in 1970, and in 1976, I couldn't stand the corruption in India. I worked as a junior engineer in the highways, and on 2 occasions, hired thugs put knife to my throat because I was blocking bribes to the bosses. And I told my mother, this is not where I want to be. I will not be corrupt. I don't want to work here. So I left. From 1976 to year 2000, I didn't even know a single IIT in Sydney. I think one very senior guy from IIT Kharagpur, but we didn't connect. But what happened in the year 2001, I think, is Guru Deshpande donated $250,000 to IIT Madras to create the alumni network. And all of a sudden, every batch had a Yahoo group, all created the Alumni Association. And somehow someone put my name in there, and then I was back in contact with all my buddies. That was absolutely fantastic time. Getting in touch with 250 classmates, we lost that for 30 years. Oh, a long time. And then in 2002, I was in UK with my sister on a holiday. I woke up with an early morning dream. I said, these batch groups are limited to just the batchmates. What about my seniors? What about my juniors? Fellows I knew on campus. How do I connect with them? So I started what is called an IIT Madras Global. And many of my friends said, yeah, that's a great idea. So overnight we had about 250 members from other batches, not all just my batch. When I came back to Sydney, I got a IIT Delhi friend. He said, Ram, why is IIT Madras thing? Make it IIT Global, all the IIT. That is how it all happened. It just happened. And then at that time, Professor Ashok Junjunwala was into the internet chaos in village in rural India. And I was very interested in that. I got to know Ashok. And Ashok said, Ram, I'll put you in touch with the president of IIT Kanpur Alumni Association, and he'll help you bring in more members. So it grew from nothing, it grew to 5,000 members. And then one group, you couldn't accommodate 5,000 members talking on different things. It was too much. So we had to break it up into interest groups. Like that time, there was no water in India, there was no rain. So we had the rainwater harvesting group. Then we had the solar energy group. And the one fellow in the Europe is saying, Ram, can you create a group for Europe, IIT Global Europe? So they just mushroomed. And it was good fun. I loved it. I would connect with people from not just IIT Madras, but including you. I wouldn't have known you otherwise. Sitting in Sydney, so far away from IITians, you probably have a handful of IITians now. So that's how it all started. It wasn't planned, nothing, just from the heart.
Great, great. We would also like to know, Ramda, because you have been quite a votary and you really created one of the first, because IT had just come and created these range of communications. So what all themes you championed? What are the what were the predominant trends of what IITians were thinking about India? Because knowing the 20 years of the conversation, we can probably extrapolate it that what can be done in next 20 years, perhaps. So some of the key themes which you championed, what were your experiences regarding, like from the various quarters of the globe you interacted with? Yeah.
It's no more like reacting to situations that crop up. And initially, there was a clash between IIT Global and Pan IITians. Pan IITians tried to shut me down. They bullied me. They said, you are not official. Pan IIT has got the backing of all the directors, so you were going to close me down. They even reported to Yahoo, but Yahoo couldn't do anything. This is a public group. Anybody can join. And not anybody could join. I had a means of checking out members to see their alumni.
Okay.
So non-IITians couldn't join IIT Global. Then we had the problem of reservation in IITs that I'm opposed to. Not because I'm an upper caste or I believe in meritocracy. I am actually from the other side of the fence. What I believe is you teach people how to fish, you don't give them fish to eat. I qualified, I'm from backward class, I qualified, I did well. People should get in there with their own merit. If the scheduled and backward class people need help, the help needs to be given at the foundation level, school level. So they qualify on their own merit. Do you agree?
Yes, yes.
Not just dump them into IIT, see them as failures. That's what's happening now. So I was very, very unhappy when HRD minister, I think it was it Charan Singh?
Mm-hmm.
When Manmohan Singh became PM, who was the HRD?
Arjun Singh.
Arjun Singh.
Mm-hmm.
He had a gripe with the politics, and he came and put a lot of problems into IIT.
Mm-hmm.
Reservation should not have been there at all.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't believe in the coaching system and what's going on now, because it's become a money-making industry.
Yes, yes, yes. In fact, this is one of the issues which Professor R.K. Khandal has brought in over here. He commented very strongly over. Yeah.
I have a dream about how we can get rid of coaching,
Mm-hmm.
but I've kept it to my heart. I don't want to tell yet. But if we get rid of the coaching system and let kids get in on their own merit,
Mm-hmm.
rich and poor are on the same level.
Mm-hmm.
Only the intelligence. Whereas now, only kids who can afford pay 1 lakh or 2 lakhs a month to go to quota qualify.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So other intelligent kids who don't have the money,
Mm-hmm.
wasted away.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
We're not picking the best of the best. We're picking nerds, supermug, and not only that, examination in our time was handwritten,
Okay. Mm-hmm.
and you had to know your subject.
Mm-hmm.
To answer. Today is a multiple choice.
Mm-hmm.
You can take a man from the street, put him in the exam. He's got a good chance of qualifying by just guessing one. So I know the reason they made it multiple choice, because they couldn't correct 10,000 papers.
Mm-hmm.
I can understand that. And also we have different faculty evaluating papers.
Mm-hmm.
They have different marking standards,
Mm-hmm.
right? But the multiple choice was the worst thing that happened in IIT,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
right?
True.
And
True.
I'm a young man like you. He came to Sydney and he was talking to me, and he said, "Ramda, I'll tell you a secret.
Mm.
I'm from Kota. I studied at Kota.
Mm-hmm.
I went into IIT.
Mm.
You know, believe it or not, the Kota teachers were so brilliant.
Mm-hmm.
And compared to that, I didn't feel like studying in IIT because they were all, most of them are PhD students coming and trying to teach.
Mm-hmm.
It's a big disappointment for me.
Mm-hmm.
But then you see, the reason why Kota teachers were good, the Kota teacher was earning 1 crore a year.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
All the good teachers are going to Kota because that's where the money is.
Mm-hmm.
So the whole system has been wrecked because education has become a business.
Mm-hmm.
That is where there are lots of things that happen in Australia which are excellent.
Mm-hmm.
Right? I would like the ideas implemented in India, but who's going to listen?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Who's going to listen? What's the point?
Probably this is the forum, Ramda, this is the effort. Like yesterday, we were having a kind of a conversation with an Indian faculty member from Taiwan, and they were talking about that in order to counter the fake news narrative, Taiwanese government has brought in media literacy down to the schools. So I think that forums like these and the IIT Global Compact you created for 20 odd years, and as we can see the lovely themes which Ramda championed, it was all in the Yahoo groups. It needs to be documented. It was quite a very passionate and a very illumined advocacy. And these should become the baseline of our policy discourse at the now created Ministry of Education, perhaps. So, as Ramda has said, because culmination of these ideas and technology is helping us to get all the ideas together, curate it, present it, advocate for it. And the way you did it, we really plan to champion it from this platform over and over again and in days to come, every day we will be having an eminent IITian, and Ramda and I would be conversing with them and taking out their ideas, their vision, because looking for future, as Professor P.V. Sharma also said, that we have to really plan for future, plan for the India. And we just read out from this, I would say, very inspirational address, Pandit Nehru, with all his criticisms intact. So he was quite a savant who really led this initiative, that here in the place of that Hijli detention camp stands the fine monument of India, representing India's urges, India's future in the making. And this picture seems to me symbolical of the changes that are coming to India. I think this is small exhortation of his 70 years back, probably, I think it was in 1956, not exactly 70 years, but this really represents our future urges again. The future, we have come to 2021 from 1956. So we have to again redefine the purpose, the approach, the mission. Every generation has to fight and champion its own battles. So just a brief overview over here. The IIT Global Current Affairs, Ramda expanded the whole frontiers. It is not just the technological or engineering space alone, but how IITians are influencing the global current affairs. That is what he championed through the groups. Then IIT Global Renewable Energy. It was way back in 2002, and electrical vehicles, EV, solar has become the new normal. Only yesterday, Ola Electric booked 1 lakh odd electrical vehicles in a single day. So that is the kind of a transition which is happening. What he saw in 2002, things are really happening in a big way. Then IIT Global Business Network with a whopping community. It happens to be probably one of the most illustrious, most powerful, most close-knit community. Even today we are known by kis IIT ka hai, which hall and which wing. So our introduction like a quantum number classification, we have our own quantum numbers. Ki I am from IIT KGP, Nehru Hall, D-Top West. So that is the kind of quantum number we all have. So business networks, business relationships, if a purpose can be revisited from the helm of affairs, things can really come back to really make an Atmanirbhar Bharat, not just the emotional sentimentalism part, but real hardcore work which would make our enterprises really world-class. Then obviously the regional chapters were there, and Ramda is a prolific writer and IIT Global Writings, and we propose to enrich this whole blog from the Yahoo Group's archives, so that that beautiful content can really come for reading, for documentation, for research. So a lot of inspirational stories of IITians we have seen from the NHAI engineer Dubey ji, who was slain by the corrupt people in Bihar. And a whole lot of furor has happened. So it is not that all IITians have fled across. A significant section of them are really serving and working in Indian organizations, making them a grand success. Rainwater harvesting is one other topic which has been close to the IIT Global aspect. And today, one of the futuristic challenges that Indian cities would be running out of water. So until or unless we synthesize our traditional wisdom with a modern technological aspect, so this is one area where we might be getting more IITians to talk about it in this. And then one very, I would say, you can put it under a lot of debate, two schools of thought clearly. But yes, the veterans, the original ones, they said no more IIT's petition. Because if you expand a brand beyond a point, make it a new category of institutions. Why to dilute the brand of the earlier ones who have really slogged so very hard? And that brand equity is owned by those early members. So that was one of the biggest advocacy, and still things are going over there. A book was published, Reflections by IITians. We will be getting some of the peoples. And this is very, very important. Ramda is very, very pro-life. And this challenge of undue stress, the peer pressure, the parental pressure, the suicides in IIT, one of the very lesser known aspect, but Ramda has been very, very vocal. We will be covering this issue in these 30 days of our journey. Some aspects of it, maybe how we are going to de-stress the young budding techno managers. Then the Save IIT petition, again, the culmination of No More IIT's petition, that is what Ramda take upon. So a vast range of, I think, advocacy, and apart from that, the other areas pertaining to national life, like pertaining to Aadhaar, pertaining to head tidbits, Jan Lokpal Bill. So this is what the frontiers of IITs have been actually. Like as Shri Ravi Shankar in one of the talks at one of the IITs, one of the modern gurus, he said that IITs truly should represent intense inner transformation. So when a youngster reaches those gates at a young age of 17, 18 years, so he has the whole world in front of him. But how that young aspirations can be molded to a rounded personality, I think that is what our veterans like Ramda and others would really help us. And Professor P.V. Sharma, for one, has been the biggest votary of science and spirituality. So how we can really bring in, I would say, the Indian traditional ethos of education to the most modern aspects of it. Would we be gulfed, captured by just the Western compact, or we would be able to synthesize for our own, I would say, own advancement, our own trajectory, our own identity. So probably we come to the close of this inaugural session, and maybe Professor P.V. Sharma, some closing words, and we would be back again with yet another illustrious IITian with Ramda tomorrow at 9:30 to take this conversation, to take this narrative further and forward. So Professor P.V. Sharma, any closing words, because he has been the kind of rishi, someone who has really looked through Indian academia from a big vantage point. So I would request Professor Sharma to conclude this session with his closing words. Yeah.
You have a great love for me, I know, and you always give me an opportunity to put my point of view. Let me first of all say that it was such a great delight to hear Mr. Rama Krishnaswamy ji sharing his thoughts on the IIT and its growth and what IIT has done so far. I think at this closing hour, 2-3 very important points I want to just give you in about a minute time. Number one, we have to look at, as you rightly said, what IIT can do today to create the India of our dream. And in that respect, we have to envision the role of IIT with a three-pronged strategy. What can IIT do within India? What can IIT do within the campus where it is there? What can IIT do within India by networking with the universities and institutions around, hand-holding them, nurturing in them the quality and relevance and the innovation and technology development kind of environment which IITs have so well created. And the third is, of course, what can IIT do to fly the flag of India abroad? And that is where IIT Global, of course, comes into picture. We need also to look into one more aspect, which I think Dr. Khandal criticism should not go totally unresponded.
Yes.
What he was really that in the name of IIT, we have created a kind of euphoria in the country where coaching institutions have really taken over the prominence, and this is where I think the trouble is coming. My own, I've taught in IIT for 12 years, and I have been interacting with IIT students thereafter also. I find that many of them have a feeling that having made to IIT after so much of coaching and preaching and preparing and grooming, they think that now they have a license not to worry about engineering and technology. This kind of mindset we need to change. We need to say you have come to a great opportunity in IIT. The IIT leadership must inspire the student community that you are the chosen children of Mother India. And therefore, responsibility rests on you to drive the agenda of future science and technology. Let you be great engineers, great technologists of tomorrow. And we have to excite their imagination to the new horizons of engineering, science, and technology, and how this can benefit the global community as a whole, India in particular. Last but not the least, let us not forget, these are IITs, Indian Institute of Technology. Therefore, Janani Jan Bhuma Swargadapi Gariyasi must be on the forefront of the vision of the IITs, how they can contribute to the growth of the India of our dream, now that the government is so well committed to drive the agenda of growth and development to create an Atmanirbhar Bharat, which does not mean India will work in isolation, but it means that India will lead in areas where it has great opportunity as well as talent. And I think the new India, on the strength of Atmanirbhar Bharat, calls IIT to remind themselves that Janani Jan Bhuma Swargadapi Gariyasi is very important as Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam. And therefore, let IIT Global as well as IIT India lead the way for future. Mr. Raghav, thank you very much for creating this dialogue, and this should continue. We must have several such sessions, drawing together both the graduates of IIT who have risen to eminence and also to the teachers of IIT who have spent their sweat and blood to create the IIT of our eminence, which we rejoice so well. Thank you so much once again for the opportunity, and thank you, Mr. Rama Krishnaswamy ji, for sparing your valuable time, for sharing your understanding and vision of IIT. And I take you seriously. India of tomorrow will not be what you have seen when you graduated or when you entered IIT. India of tomorrow would be a leader in the world community areas of eminence here. And that is where our entire effort is being put into with the help of the government as well as.
Thank you. Thank you. That has been, I think the purpose of today's inaugural has been really accomplished. Ramda, whom are we getting tomorrow? Probably some 2-3 names who would be coming on the, so that it can just build upon your closure words and we end today's session. Okay, so I think we come to the close of today's inaugural, and we will be meeting you with yet another very eminent IITian on this host of issues at 9:30 Indian Standard Time. I am emphasizing on IST because we are working across time zones, and we are trying to create a map as to what is the concentration of IITians. This is a celebration month of the IITians because the story is converging so very well with the story of India. And a lot of things would be converging out there. So 9:30 IST, and we will be meeting you tomorrow at 9:30 with this next episode, next interaction. So namaskar and thank you for joining in. It was really a pleasure to have you all. Professor P.V. Sharma for blessing this, and Ramda, who has been really one of the single-handed, I would say, leaders who has really brought in the pride in the whole IIT system. And that is one of his contributions which will be remembered for long, because he was the one who really brought in the whole community together. And community builders, we all know that how tough it is. Individual interest is fine, but in order to build a community, in order to bring the various thought processes together on a single platform is really an arduous task. And that is what Ramda really accomplished in the last 20 years. And we really hope to take the mantle, the flag, what he has unfurled through this humble initiative in this phase. So thank you very much with us. We'll close here and we'll meet you tomorrow at 9:30 again with yet another IIT Global Contemplation. Thank you very much. Ramda, thank you.